Hey everybody, this is Perch. I'm a dad, and I remember when I was a kid, the things I was interested in. Certainly in the comics world, it was a wonderful kind of environment that you would love. I mean, I remember very fondly. I said before, going to the grocery store, you sit on that dirty tile floor, and reading my way through dozens of comic books at the grocery store while my mom did the shopping. It was a good memory. I wish my kids could have that memory. However, you wouldn't leave your kids alone at the magazine rack now. There are no comics at the grocery store, and frankly, my goal when I go into places like that is to get out of it as fast as possible. But I wish my kids could have that memory. And I think a lot of parents, have similar things. They have moments in their lives. This is kind of what nostalgia is born out of, that you wish you could share with your children, but they're gone. So this listener question comes in, and similar kind of thing. So let's get to it. It says, a great escapism for me is listening to your videos. Escaping from sanity, am I right? Keep up the interesting commentary in the business and those compelling interviews with Phil Kennedy Johnson, Sean Murphy, Jeff Thorne, big DC fan. As a kid, my grandparents used to buy me comics at the local candy store. I would eagerly anticipate every new issue of The Flash that I would grab off the spinner rack. Today, as a parent myself, I take my 11-year-old daughter to our local comic shop, and it's all about manga. My Hero, Demon Slayer, Promised Neverland, Hunter x Hunter. A lot of her friends at school talk about manga and anime, but they all seem to have no interest in reading DC and Marvel titles that I always loved. Why? The simple answer is manga and anime has caught that age group's attention better than DC and Marvel has. And the reason they've caught that attention, I think, is pretty simple. They're using the same format. They're using the same ideas that, DC and Marvel used on you when you were a kid. The relatively easy to step into stories, the heavy doses of action to plot, and pretty easy to digest concept. Meaning, when you pick it up, there's usually some like Promised Neverland. Okay. You pick that up. It's like, what is this about? Okay, you got a bunch of kids, and they're trapped in some kind of school orphanage type situation, and they think they're waiting to get adopted, but it turns out they're basically waiting to get old enough to be eaten by monsters, and so they have to escape. I summarized that pretty poorly, but anyway, that's basically what you got. And so it's a new premise. It's a simple premise. The premise is, hey, the wonderful life we thought we had, we don't, and we need to escape. That's it. And for kids, for younger, newer readers, that story presents a good hook, and so that it works. And comics are not that way. If you go to pick up even The Flash today, and I think The Flash is still one of the better ones out there, but if you go to pick it up, the hook is it's like we've Barry Allen is in the multiverse somewhere with the Justice League incarnate. Wally West is stepping into the Flash. He has a Flash family, and it's a far more muddled story. And again, Flash is one of the easier ones. Try and get somebody to explain the whole X-Men Krakoa to a new reader at this point. Well, you see, the mutants were once hunted and feared. Developed a way to have immortality based on the eighth life of Moira, who was unknown to be a mutant, but now has turned into a techno enemy, wanting to kill off the mutants, which is the big threat that the X-Men have. P.S. Some of them are on Mars, and they sell drugs. What? What? So who are they fighting against? Well, robots. Robots? What? Because the robots want to kill the mutants and take over. Okay, so why are they on an island having a party with drugs? What? It makes no sense at all. Anyway, that's why manga is succeeding with that audience. The silly part is manga is succeeding doing what comics did. That it's just that simple. Now, by the way, there's this stalker who shows up. I blocked him. I had to because he is an absolute nutcase. Shows up when I show around, and I say stalker because this guy pops up and then starts inventing absolute crazy nonsense. Like, you never talk about it. Like, no, you can accuse me of lots of things, but I've done now over 4,000 videos at this point. It's all in here. I've repeated the same topics multiple times. Who always takes real umbrage at this. Like, why are you complimenting manga? You're one of these people who says manga is doing better than comics. Well, manga are doing better than comics in sales. They are. That's not a disputable fact. They're pulling in more money. Absolutely. In terms of the content, is it better? Is it worse? That's up to you. You're the reader. To some people, manga's doing better in terms of the story. To some people, they won't touch it. Stories are bad. The manga is not colored. The eyes are too big. Who the hell knows? That's your call. One thing, I've done this video in the past, but I always get accused of, you've never mentioned this. I've done multiple separate videos on this topic alone. The pay within manga, the mangaka studios, the people, and keep in mind, with a lot of manga, you've got a studio of people who are doing different art chores for the manga. That's how a lot of that work is produced. The pay is absolute garbage. There are a few people, the bigger names. I talk about Rumiko Takahashi. She's obviously doing incredibly well. Multi-millionaire, one of the highest paid, female content creators out there. It's like not J.K. Rowling level, but a lot closer to J.K. Rowling than, say, me. So she's, there are definitely manga creators who are doing great. Oda, doing great. But of the vast majority of manga creators, artists, live in poverty. The rates are extremely low. It's the ability to catch on. I made this point as well. More manga fails than succeeds. A lot more manga fails than succeeds. It's easy to sit here in the U.S. and go, "Hey, it's doing great," because we're seeing the stuff that is popular enough to get translated, localized, brought over here. And even then, if you go to your Barnes and Noble and you look at the shelf, there's still like 10% of the stuff is dominating the other 90. It's not selling. It's just not. I mean, it's not the massive, huge sellers of some of the titles you mentioned. But a lot of manga, most manga, is dying, or it basically never catches on. And the people who work on it work in absolute poverty, absolute worse than American comics by a mile. It's similar to crowdfunding, quite bluntly, where people are like, the way to become a multimillionaire is crowdfunding. Well, for a couple people, yeah, but a lot of people, and a lot, the reason why you don't have fulfilled projects half the time, and why you have a bunch of things that flame out and don't work, yeah, it's because the crowdfunded book loses money because people do not understand the shipping costs, they don't understand the production costs, they don't understand how to manage all those pieces, and they go in the red. A lot of people. I don't know about the majority, but it's not like 5% have a bad experience. No, it's much higher than that. The illusion that, hey, all you have to do is go to crowdfunding and you're gonna make yourself $1 million. Nope, that's not at all true. Not even close. So anyway, everything is perspective. But back to your original question, quite frankly, just manga is appealing to new readers and kids better by being far simpler in terms of what it offers, what it provides, easier to pick up, easier to understand. It's better in that regard. I say this from a market perspective. Manga does a much better job of reaching the audience it wants. That's simple. I think that, can Western comics get back and get to that same place? They can if they want to. But a lot of the creators, the people producing Western comics, do not seem to think that particular market is attractive or interesting, or they don't know how to get to it. Either way. But the reality is, the format for competing at the same level and grabbing that same audience is right there. You do have to adjust price, all those other things. But if you're putting out a 22-page comic that's like a character study between two mutants on the island having a pina colada and talking about, Quentin Quire's relationship with one of the Stepford Cuckoos, and that's not going to appeal to anyone. There's no elevator pitch there. Sorry, it'll appeal to some people, but not as many. It's going to catch far fewer people than, say, My Hero Academia. Hey, My Hero Academia. There are people who have superpowers in the world, and there's a school that trains them, and they fight villains. The end. Like, Of course, that's going to appeal, especially to kids in school. It's like, oh, there's kids in school, but this school is for people with powers. Hell yes. You know what's similar to that? Harry Potter. You mean there's a kid where or a school where kids go and they learn magic? Hell yes. That's why that. I mean, come on, this stuff is it's not that hard to figure out. I'm not insulting you, the person listening to this. I'm saying there's this undercurrent of just anger and resentment whenever you talk about manga being successful, and it's like, how about you don't be angry and you just copy the format that they're using, which by the way they copied from you. You know, those memories you have of reading The Flash and these simple adventures that kind of get you excited into something. Why can't the comic companies do that today? They absolutely can. Very, very simple. You just gotta steer into that type of storytelling, and life will be fine. I find like the person who wrote in. I feel for you. As I said, I have kids. I have an 11-year-old daughter myself, and I want her to love, American Western comics. But it is a struggle. She'll read some, but it's like the interest is nowhere even close to manga. And I mentioned this somewhere else, and it's worth another video, so you'll hear parts of this again. Meanwhile, throughout all this, we got to see the first 3 episodes of Miss Marvel early. And guess what? Both kids, both girls, loved it. And why did they love it? Pretty simple. Kids in school, has conflict with parents, wants to have her own identity, has a dream of being a superhero, finds some magical artifact, becomes a superhero. That of course that format works. Don't overthink it. Anyway, thank you very much for the mail. I wish you luck in getting your daughter into comics, and if you figure it out, write me back because I would love to know too. Thanks for listening.